Allegiance to the flag of the United States. And to the republic which stands one nation.
Welcome, everyone. Okay, first we're going to start with ambulance services. Anyone here to represent ambulance?
I don't see anybody here from Tower Direct. If the board has any questions on what they submitted electronically, please let me know and I will hire the liaison will endeavor to get the questions answered.
Just curious, I know last meeting we talked about some of the data stuff that I think last meeting, any info they're giving back since.
No, and I apologize for that. I did not follow up on that in a timely fashion.
Okay, we're going to put off the approval of minutes, the June minutes until the fifth Tuesday meeting, and moving on to tax collector.
There's nothing specific or unusual to report. We've received for 2025 real estate, we've received 94% of revenue, which is very typical. Another few percent will be coming in towards the end of the year. We usually end up with 98 to 99% of the expected revenue received. And then any accounts that are unpaid then go to tax claim in January of next year. Everyone probably received their per capita tax bills and their school tax bills. So per capita tax on here doesn't show anything, and that's because those bills only just went out 1st of July.
Chief Winchester, do you have anything for the police department? Oh, pardon me, no, I didn't see that. No, public comment. I think the first person we have on here is Allison Colvin.
Yeah. It's Christine Bonfiglio as well. Yeah.
Would you please come up and state your name and your address?
Hello, my name is Christine Bonfiglio. I'm at 330 Scenic Drive. We're here representing the Midland PD Library. And I'm at Allison Caldwell at 347 Pheasant Road. And we're here to invite all of the trustees to our community mixer that we'll be holding on August 22nd from 5 to 7 at the library. You can drop in and meet the core library team, learn more about the services we offer to the community. And I just have some invitations for all of you guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, next, Christine.
That's
Oh, you were about to get, okay. Nathaniel and Kimberly Welsh. Oh. Zachary, would you like to come up and state your name and your address, please?
My name is Zachary Ware. I'm at 932 Philadelphia Avenue, but I also own the Luxagon. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Yeah, so I'm here to talk about the place across the street from us that just moved in about a year ago. It's a car place that has. I'm not good at public speaking, I'm sorry guys, but so it's a place, it's like a car place basically, and there's a lot of violations that we see on a regular basis. There's always cops there on a regular. I don't know if this is the right place that I talked about that, I'm sorry. Am I able to talk?
So it's right directly across the Lancaster Avenue?
Yes, it's right across the street from you, and you can talk about whatever you want. This is public comment. I got you. And it's a car place, and there's always like parties going on a regular basis at night. Like I come at midnight sometimes to collect my money from the state, and there's always people there. And I stopped coming there. It's not safe anymore. It doesn't really feel safe. And about 3 months ago, I fought, like I argued with them. I shouldn't have argued with them, but that's just what it is. But yesterday there was about 6 cop cars there because I think there was 2 stolen cars there. But it's just a place that you have to kind of take a look for eye on that. Because the person that owns the property, his name is, I forget his name, but he owns like the whole block on the other side. But a lot of neighbors that come in at the restaurant, they're regular customers and they live on top of the hill. So everyone complains because there's a lot of drag racing that goes on at night. It's just not safe. So it's just why. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know it was gonna be in front of everybody, that's why.
I think Burbine owns that property.
Yes, yeah, I talked to him about a month ago about it, but it's just a nuisance to the community, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be that kind of person to complain about it, but it just gets old after a while. There's always a problem there, so. It's kind of, if you live in the city, you leave that behind, you don't bring that out with you to the suburbs, I'm sorry, that's just how it is, but. Nice to, thank you guys.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, so we're aware of that. We're actively looking into that. I can't be specific. We were there, yesterday, or, yeah, I think it was yesterday, actually. As a result of investigation. And it is ongoing investigation. The state or the district attorney's office is involved in that investigation. We are in communication with Mr. Mervine, who owns the property, and looking at, our options, and encouraging him to look at his options, in regards to the lease and tenants that are leasing that current location. We received complaints, for a few months now in regards to, excessive noise as a result of vehicles driving, and speeding, revving engines, and, doing this at odd hours of the day. That's not, traditional with a, mechanic shop. So, we have reached out to the owner. We do speak with him on a regular basis. We have put out details to try and deter this. But I think we're coming hopefully to a resolution where, those current tenants will not be, very long. It's almost a situation of lease and then sublease, which is a violation and which we are, again, actively looking at. It complicates things on the criminal investigation, because of accountability, but we're working towards that. So hopefully that'll be, successfully, resolved soon.
Great, thank you. And that's the end of public comment. Chief Winchester, and provide the chief department update.
Okay, great, thank you. So you all should have my, report center on the monthly, on the tablet for the month. If there's any questions I can address, I will gladly do so. I just wanted to provide a quick update to the board in regards to community days. It went well. There was only a few minor hiccups that we expected to occur when you have an amount of people coming into a same location. It really does dry our resources. It taxes our resources. It's 9 days, and essentially it's an all hands on deck situation. So I would fear if they would try to expand that beyond 9 days, that would really be difficult for us. In regards to money that the township spent in police resources, I did provide you with a spreadsheet on your tablets that outlines all of our officers and the number of hours that they worked, whether it be straight time or overtime. So we do manipulate the schedule. So officers are working the grounds on straight time. And that's, the guys really don't put much of a fuss up about that because we notify them at the beginning of the year. But it is very difficult to tell someone that they can't go on a vacation and be with their family and they're going to be working the days they're supposed to be off. But it's something that they're used to for the most part. So if there's any questions about that breakdown, and if you're unable to see it, please let me know and I can provide you with the total amount for manpower costs.
Chief, real quick, do we or can we get help from any of our neighbors?
So We request it, but that's very difficult to get it because ironically, we're the largest department in this area, in the Midland School District area. And when it wasn't in Cumru Township and it was in Shillington, we provided assistance on a regular basis because we knew that impacted Cumru. We don't really get a lot of assistance and that attitude toward us now, unfortunately.
From Shillington?
From pretty much everybody around us. Yeah.
Shillington?
Shillington has, their manpower, they have one officer out at a time. So that's what they're doing. And the sheriff's department charges, to come out. And that's an issue, obviously. So that kind of yes and no, if that makes sense. Moving on, just an update on the hiring process. We went through the process. We processed through our background investigations and we were able to provide conditional offers of employment for 3 individuals on the list. The first individual is named Anthony Warman, second Esther Centeno, and then third was Justice Wade, which is a great name. It's almost as good as Madison Winchester. The Anthony and Justice and Esther, all 3 of them are in the academy. Esther, she worked for the MIT and a number of other federal agencies and was able to test and get a few waivers for the police academy, which provides her about a month where she doesn't have to be in the classroom, but she's obviously in-house when she's not. That being said, the academy is so important, and we want everyone to be trained in consistent ways that she is attending the majority of that police academy. So all 3 are in and on their way and are set to, if all goes well, graduating in December, specifically December 27th. So we're very happy with the 3 so far. We think that it's going to work out really well. And that's all I have on the agenda. If there's any questions for me.
Thank you very much. Stuff is Chief Bean with the fire department.
Good evening, commissioners, the sheriff, you can run there for the chain. Questions, questions, if there are any. I don't know, if you can move on. Letter B, I'm looking for a motion for a application payment totaling $630,587.98 to Baltimore Incorporated HP Producer Division Capital here in management. And second.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Bachelor,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell.
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you.
And item C, we held civil service testing for an entry-level firefighter position, firefighter EMT position this past Saturday. We had 34 applications turned in. Saturday morning, 29 applicants showed up. And of the 29 weeks, we passed. They'll be moving on to the next step, which is CPAT, and we're waiting final assignment instructions for the CPAT testing, which starts at the beginning of August. So this will be an ongoing process. But that's where we stay on the civil service sector and the fire side. And outside of that, I have nothing further this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Okay, moving on to Jean Johnson with administration.
Good evening. You have the codes report. If you have any specific questions, Mr. Farmer is in the back. You can help us out. We did have one property placarded due to a fire 105 Eric. Something that the board may not be aware of is when there is a structure fire, the fire department calls out codes to take a look at the situation and determine whether or not the individual, usually the home, can go back in there. So that's what that's referring to, where they could not go back into the home at that time. And then what happens is administration provides tax and certification to the insurance companies, assuming that the home is insured. Rare occasions, not, but almost 99% of the time they are. And then the insurance company determines whether it can provide a fire factor depending on the details of the state statutes and the township ordinance. Item B, I don't need a motion, but your special solicitor for the Hawthorne development, Dan Becker, had asked me just to get the board to start thinking about the fact that the settlement agreement for the Hawthorne development calls for the vacating of Kennel Road. It's a very short road, but technically it's a township road, and that the settlement agreement calls for it to be vacated. So at some point during this year, we're going to have to go through that process. It does involve a public hearing. It involves certain notifications ahead of time. It involves advertisement. It involves a public hearing. So we will at some point during the fall have at least a short special hearing about the vacating of Kennel Road. The timing is rather fluid. We just didn't want this item to be forgotten because it is part of the settlement agreement.
Aside from the procedure and how impacted public and not, nobody's really impacted.
The only impact, what happens with the vacating, and in a general sense, and Kelsey can correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's split down the middle and half goes to the one property owner on the one side and half goes to the property owner on the other side. The two property owners involved are the Animal Rescue League and then Pollock Development, which is developer of Hawthorne. In regard to whether that road will still be open, the road of Kennel Road is PennDOT right of way, and PennDOT has now stated that they will not be closing Kennel Road. So it will still be able to be used by the Animal Rescue League for access to that portion of their property. It really only involves, we will not be maintaining that road. The next item is the refuse and SMP accounts. I did send the board an email on that, but I think there's an update from the solicitor on this matter. I think we do your analysis of the ordinances, we do have to send out a letter.
Yeah, upon further review of our ordinance, requiring specific notice to be given to people who are going into collections and being imposed agency fees. I do think we need to send a 30-day letter because it requires us to give more specific information than what's stated on the document that was sent to the. So I've instructed Jim for letter to go out.
And just to let everybody know, if you cannot remember whether or not you paid your refuse bill, please call the township, because after that 30 days, we will be sending letters to collection. And I know that the administrative staff endured a lot of very harsh criticism last year about how many accounts claimed that they did not receive their bill. It's the same number of accounts, not the same accounts. So in other words, there are a number of accounts that are traditionally don't pay, I'm sorry to say. Those accounts still haven't paid. And we will be leaning them as appropriate. There are also a great number of accounts that have not paid that are random and are not the same as last year. We cannot account for what happens on the post office level. Some people claim they have not received their bill. Please call us. Some people, unfortunately, if a neighbor gets a bill, neighbors don't always act neighborly, don't always put those in the person's mailbox or at their door. You know, that has happened on a couple of occasions, but we don't know those things. When we do receive a bill that comes back in the mail and cannot be delivered, or the post office puts a sticker on it, we attempt to reach the correct entity for that bill. So we will be sending the 30-day notices out, and then after that, we will be going to collection. Please call us if you don't remember if you paid your sewer bill or your SMP bill or not. So thank you.
Gina, the timing on the letters and collection is that they'll go out pretty soon, I would assume.
Yes. Yeah,
And then collection is when? Is that end of August or end of July?
well, ideally, we would have already sent them to collection. But at this rate, I would anticipate probably end of August would be the end of the collection period. But I won't know the exact date until we do the mail merge. There's 800 of them. Just like last year, it's the same phenomenon as last year, but other than the repeated non-payers, the other first timers, so to speak, random. And I cannot account for that.
Yeah, so it's either we have the same problem happen again this year, or this is the new baseline. Because I remember last year, I don't quote you on the numbers, but I think it was what, 400 some the year before, and then it went to like 800 something last year. So there was some sort of whatever in there. I'll call it an anomaly, for lack of a better word, but now it's
I don't think, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's an anomaly anymore. I think this is the phenomenon. Obviously, the staff, was very attentive to how the bills were, sent out because of some of the very harsh criticism that they received. And I will tell you, I disagreed with much of that criticism, and most of that criticism. We also sent out the bills on paper that was bright yellow. We're gonna be sending sewer bills out on bright pink paper. All I can say is that somehow these are being missed, either they're being not delivered by the post office, they're being thrown out as junk mail. They're being deemed irrelevant for some reason, no, I don't have to pay that. But think of it this way, those individuals, those households that have paid, which are the majority of the households, are carrying the cost for a number of households who are habitually not paying. So, thank you. In regard to the next item D, 291 Hundred Road, this is a property that has a special kind of on-lot sewage system called a small flow treatment system. It was a very expensive and somewhat exotic type of system. They were required to post a significant escrow of $7,500, and in May, end of May, became eligible for a reduction in that escrow down to $1,800. I need a motion from the board, and this is an agreement signed by the township. So I need an authorization from the board to release $5,700 from that escrow.
I make a motion.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Bachelor.
Yeah.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. The next planning items, I know that the board toyed with the idea of a consent agenda at the last meeting. I will let you know, only 2 of these items are similar. If you wanted to, you could take Cedar Top Road, the first planning item, and the Roos minor subdivision together, because both of those require adoption of a resolution authorizing us to forward the sewer planning modules onto the DEP. Those public comment periods are closed and no public comments were received.
Move to, authorize board to vote.
I'll second.
Mr. Bachelor,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell.
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item, Posh Acquisitions LLC. This is a simple reaffirmation of a plan. This is for 2 units and a public sewer and water extension in the Farview area. The plan has passed that 90-day threshold for recording. They have not posted their escrow yet for the construction of the sanitary sewer. And obviously we won't release the plan until all the conditions have been met. So this is just a reaffirmation of this plan.
Move to amend fund.
I'll second.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor.
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item is Deerfield Phase 4, 2025. I need to take a moment, just to describe the suit. The Deerfield land development and subdivision was initially approved as a PRD and a tentative plan in the 1990s. Then and it was originally approved for 7 phases. When a total of 450 units. When phase 1 was approved and was about to be constructed, the township issued a stop work order on the construction because the plan for firefighting water had changed and did not provide sufficient water for firefighting, and the township felt that it was unsafe and the development was stopped. There then a lawsuit was filed by the developer, and this dragged on for about 5 years. And then at the same time, both the board of commissioners changed and they directed the new solicitor, who was Mr. Setley at the time, to develop a settlement agreement. And at the same time, the Flying Hills Water Company, which was a division of Berkshire Greens, also the developer of Deerfield, sold, and they were unable to provide water as the township viewed it. They sold the Flying Hills Water Company to what was then Philadelphia Suburban, which is now Aqua America. And Philadelphia Suburban made the commitment that they would provide the appropriate amount of water for the development to proceed. And you can see up on the hill, there's a white standpipe, like a small water tank. That's what resulted. So then development proceeded on phases 1, 2, and 3 as a separate subdivision, Deerfield Meadows, which are the homes behind the Jewish cemetery. That was a separate subdivision, but subsumed under the same HOA. Then dial up to the 2000s, the phases 4, 5, 6, and 7. The developer decided to forget everything beyond phase 4. It would all be lumped into phase 4. Originally, phase 4 called for another 152 units for that entire ridge to be developed up to the standpipes. However,
Is that single family or condo?
a mix of all kinds of stuff. The developer decided to chop it up, if you will, into small bites. Bite 1 was Chaser Court, which is at the end of Deerfield Drive, off to the right. It's 15 unit townhome. And bite 2 was the small apartment building of 16 units, which is off of Ravine Drive. And then nothing happened for a number of years. The developer did maintain their NPDES permit, which renews every 5 years. And now the developer has decided, instead of constructing the entire ridge, the developer has decided to do a revision to the plan of record and build only 21 units. And that's what Deerfield Phase 4 2025 is about, 21 units. I wanted to provide the context because most of the board members now haven't been through the entire Deerfield saga, and it was important to recognize why this was a revision to the plan of record and not a new plan. So the planning commission recommended since this is a revision to a plan that has already been recorded and is of lesser density, and the fire chief has approved the configuration, the planning commission is recommending to grant approval to this revision to the plan of record. And of course, conditioned on any outstanding conditions in Great Valley review letter to be fulfilled. They already have sewer approval. They already have their water serviceability letter from Aqua. So there are relatively few conditions outstanding.
Be happy to move
to authorize the revision. Just curious, any highlights from the review letter from Great Valley?
Not from Great Valley, but from myself, I actually think this is a much better plan. I've got this, the fire chief nodding here. This configuration is much better than the one that was previously approved and reported.
I'll second.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yeah.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to describe that to you. The next item is the John Paul II Center parking lot expansion. This is a very small project. The John Paul II Center has had several tweaks and outright expansions to its envelope over the years. Because of the staff that's required, the board is probably aware of the John Paul II Center for Special Education. Its population are kids that have a lot of special needs. There's a lot of staff that goes along with it, and they're been finding that they do not have enough parking for the staff that are required by law to accompany these children. So they are squeezing in some other 10 additional off-street parking, for a total of 16 spaces within the same envelope of their development. They are not expanding beyond their current lot line. I think they've got in there about as much as they can get without actually using more land. So the planning commission recommended this revision to the plan of record as well.
Sorry, looking at the lot there. Did you mention the saldo waiver?
Oh,
Note there?
You're right. Actually, thank you. Thank you for keeping me on track. Yes, they reckon that's the first thing we can do. There are waivers to the saldo. The area does not have sidewalk or curb currently. This is on Wells Road down as you get into Shillington right before the cemetery. But thank you, Andy. They already have public sewer and public water. They are a community facility. For this revision to plan of record, it's a very minor impact. They don't even need a revision to the stormwater at home either. So thank you very much. I guess that would be the first motion.
I would move to grant the saldo waiver as well as through provide the relief. I'm sorry, to grant approval for the revision.
Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Okay, that's the planning. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, moving on to public works.
Good evening, the week of July 2nd, we revisited the sanitary sewer overflow area that we had last December. We had a contractor come in and do lining, silt lining. Basically, they take a resin impregnated belt stock and inflated inside sewer pipe. And it's sealed the pipe up, and it's actually a little bit stronger than what the original pipe is. It's relatively expensive. It costs us just over $51,000. It was the code price. The line 785 feet of pipe. And our estimate would have been around $200,000 to be able to take that up and replace it. Mostly because of the difficult position that's in behind the buildings on St. Andrew's Circle. That worked out very well for you. And B, we're still looking at the local share account grant opportunities. And I think we're trying to set up a liaison meeting, Gene,
Yeah.
discuss some of those details.
Yes, we will need a liaison meeting in time to meet before the July, ideally before the July 29th meeting, so that we, at that meeting, we can adopt the resolution for whatever we want to apply.
Moving on to the engineer's report.
Just one item this evening, the Public Works Department, observed a unauthorized speed limit sign posted on Mountain Penn Road, and it was posted at a 15 mph speed limit on a utility pole. It is a black and white sign, which is a regulatory sign, however, it's illegally posted. Our posted speed limit for Mountain Penn Road is 30 mph. We're assuming a resident has posted or installed that sign along the utility pole. And our recommendation is to have that sign removed for two reasons. One, it's an illegal posting. 15 mph speed limit is only utilized in a school zone area. Our existing road is posted at 30 mph. And it's also within our right of way. A sign needs to be installed on a breakable post. But this was not done by our department, so my recommendation to the board is to have the sign removed. In lieu of having that sign, we're assuming a resident put it up there concerned about speeding. We are going to look at that horizontal curve, see if we can possibly, if it meets the warrants for an advisory speed, we can place signs that'll alert motorists to drive at a lower speed than 30 mph. And that has a criteria for posting any speed they call it advisory speed limit because it's not enforceable. It's posted on a sign, curve sign or 90-degree curve sign. That speed is just to advise motorists to slow down to safely negotiate those curves. That's something that we're going to look at, and I'll be able to report back to the Public Works Department at the time when they're going to be posting that road for restriction of a classification of trucks, which is going to be addressed under the solicitor's report. But that's my recommendation. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
That's just kind of a fundamental question. Can somebody just buy a speed limit sign and put it up in front of their house?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, you could buy a sign into Gray Avenue or Miller Avenue. You just have to go into, you put like speed limit sign. So when you see signs in somebody's garage, you can't move their phone. We have ways to mark our signs. So we know where are, but you can get a sign to anything.
Just to add what Bob is saying, the state does the same thing. They'll mark their signs, and a lot of times municipalities will date them as well. Just for that reasoning, because that does happen. A lot of legal postings, and like Bob said, there are PennDOT approved signing companies that anybody can purchase a sign for their personal use, but to install it within a township right of way is illegal, and then I'll defer that to the solicitor.
Yeah, and I think I saw the sign, I saw the email, I responded to Bob that it, the township can go with that, it's not legal.
So I don't want to harp on this, but like, if they put a speed limit sign up there, that's not like enforceable by Chief Winchester standards or anything like that, correct?
Right, your next line down, you're gonna pass an ordinance back up. So, and then the other thing with this sign is, well, it's got the right color. Because there's, we talk about some like color scheme, bombs and things like that, they also smaller than the regular.
It doesn't meet the size requirements and the reflectivity. A lot of the signs they call type 3 reflectivity, so that when a headlight hits it, it's illuminated at night. It provides better visibility for a motorist to see the sign. My guess would be it's a substandard sign, the size, and it's also posted on a utility pole. It has to be a breakaway pole. PennDOT has certain signposts that we need to utilize in the installation of whether warning signs or if they're regulatory signs.
It is, however, legal to have a sign made person that says something like 2 miles an hour, and then put it up somewhere. There are restrictions to that. And some sign companies will say, we can't make that.
It's not.
Right. The PennDOT and the Pennsylvania Vehicle Code and the Manual and Uniform Traffic Control Device dictates how speed limits are posted. Certain speed limits can be posted without a study. It falls under what they call the 25-mile-per-hour statute that was adopted back in 1998, where if it meets a certain criteria of either the residential or an urbanized area or a commercial area, a municipality can post that road at a 25-mile-per-hour without performing any study, as long as they document their findings. If not, a municipality would conduct a speed limit study, which they would base the speed on what they call an 85th percentile speed or a safe running speed, where the design criteria allows you to post that road 5 mile per hour plus or minus increment of that 85th percentile speed. And you're allowed to go 10 miles per hour if there's certain criteria met accident rates or sight distance or any type of geometric defects that would allow for that road to be posted at a lower speed. So unless a study is done, that's legal posting of 15 mile per hour, because the only time that ever is used is during a school zone. And that still falls under the jurisdiction of PennDOT, whether it's a sign or whether it's a electronic flashing sign. That has to be approved by PennDOT. It has to meet the criteria for the definition of a school.
Anything else regarding
That's all I have. Thank you.
that? Thank you. Moving on to the solicitor report.
Thank you. I guess this dovetails nicely into my report. I'm asking the board to consider authorizing me to advertise an amendment to the traffic ordinance related to two different issues. The first one is a truck restriction between, on Mount Penn Road between Route 10 to Freemansville Road. This was based on complaints that the commissioner received from some residents regarding large commercial vehicles traveling down Mount Penn Road. And the board authorized Great Valley to perform a traffic study, which they did. And Joe, I believe PennDOT approved the restriction then.
Actually, PennDOT approved the restriction on Freemansville Road, which we were hoping that they would also perform a study, which they did on our behalf. And I believe they're also restricting the road, the classification of truck. I believe it's either the same or very close to the weight restriction and the size that we're recommending for the board to adopt this evening, which I believe is maximum is 10,000 pounds, which is a 5-ton weight limit that's permitted on the road. Anything larger in that size is prohibited unless it meets the definition of a school bus or a delivery truck and so forth that's outlined in the Pennsylvania Vehicle Code.
Yeah, so the ordinance does restrict any vehicle in excess of 10,000 pounds, except for school buses, trash haulers, emergency vehicles, construction and maintenance vehicles for government, utilities, contractors, and local delivery. So that's the Mount Penn Road portion of the amendment to the ordinance. And then there's also an amendment including a stop sign being placed on Andover Avenue at Jefferson Boulevard. So those are the only two changes to the traffic ordinance contemplated by the amendment. So I would just need a motion to authorize the advertisement for it, and we can likely get it on your agenda for the 29th.
I make a motion
I'll
to.
second.
Mr. Backyard,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, for curiosity, wasn't the Andover and Jefferson one something we didn't apply to?
No, we were, yes, we talked about it previously, but as far as adopting the ordinance, we were saving it. What we usually do with the traffic ordinance is we try to bundle things, because there usually things come up. So that's, yeah, they spoke about it, but now it'll be enforceable.
And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
I make a motion to pay the bills.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor.
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes. Correspondence, a letter from PATP regarding the evaluation of Angelica Creek. Public comment period through 7/29 to 6/29/25. That doesn't make any sense.
But the letter was dated June 9th, but the comment period goes through July 29th. And
Would that
anybody,
be like to make it a class 1 trout stream?
sections of it, not the entirety of the Angelica Creek. There are certain sections of it that they want to increase the rating. From, down the section along Church Road. And from, of course, from the Nolan Mansion out to a certain point. So there's a map associated with anybody who wants an email of it, we can email this to them, and they can see the map. And it shows the sections that are being considered. This was based on, a petition or inquiry from First Nature. And, so the DEP is considering this. And it would essentially result in, if they do this for certain sections of the Angelica Creek corridor, it would increase the permitting requirements if anybody wants to do any development in those sections. I don't have all the regulations memorized, but that's the summary. I do have one other item of correspondence verbally. I received a call from the Borough of West Reading today. They would respectfully request that the Board of Commissioners talk about the triangle of Cumru Township adjacent to West Reading and some trash issues related to that. My recommendation to the board would be that area is very, very complicated. And I know sometimes it may seem like our hyperbole when I or one of the other staff members say something like that, but it is truly complicated up there, even though it's a very small area. I would highly encourage any or all of the board members to come with us and have a field trip to see what's going on up there. The PennDOT right of way for the 422 overpass and the county's right of way, the bridge that comes over from RAC creates areas where individuals hang out, let's put it that way. Some are legitimately unhomed persons and some are people doing nefarious things. And it generates a tremendous amount of trash. Apparently, the state has pressured the Borough of West Reading to remove a lot of this material. And it's a lot of material on a regular basis. And West Reading is asking to communicate with Cumru since it's actually into, they're doing work in the township for some assistance. We're not sure what kind of assistance, but the first thing is, I really think the board needs to get eyes on what it's really like up there. Whatever solution, if any, we come up with for the interim, it will change again. And because when the state does the 422 bypass reconstruction, they're going to cantilever off an additional lane for 200 feet on that elevated structure. And they're going to reroute the access to the service caster building. It's going to be a very significant reconstruction of that entire area. So that's the request from the Borough of West Reading. Can you please take a look at the infield conditions and talk to them about it?
This is compensating the encampment.
Yes, yes, that's part of the problem.
So if we remove that stuff, that is gonna be an issue probably, generated with the homeless people. And probably people calling the police department there to assist.
Well, from what I understand, a lot of those folks are out there, not because they don't have a place to go, because there are shelters and the county does provide them, but they can't get into those shelters because they're on drugs. So that's why they're out there. All right, so now you have, that compounding the problem, the issue right there on top of it too. So it's a difficult, whatever the solution is, it won't be easy.
Yes, and not only that, once a lot of these homeless individuals get removed, they get put on a list. And they're basically forbidden to come back. It's very difficult, and we've gone up there in the past and have removed these, makeshift structures and like anything else, they return. So it's a conundrum, it's a difficult situation.
I think it's just worth pointing out that homelessness and drug addiction have very high prevalences of comorbidity with severe mental health issues. So this isn't just a bunch of crackhead bums or drug addict bums. There are probably some severely ill people there.
Well, they can say, they can get mental rehab if they go in these facilities and they can get the necessary, help that they require to get off the drug.
As someone with several family members with severe mental health issues, I can assure you that the public assistance for mental health in this state, I'll just say, is going to be great. Point being,
Well, I have your personal opinion, I have something to do with it, I'm not gonna go there with you.
okay, I'm just saying, I think we should tread carefully, with anything as it pertains to vulnerable populations. I'm curious, Jean, you mentioned a field trip, is there a particular time frame you had in mind?
No, it can be customized, and believe me, I think both individuals from the borough of West Reading and of course staff here will make ourselves available whenever board members are available. I don't know if you know this, but Chief Bean also was head of public works in West Reading before he was fire chief here. So we're talking to a lot of us who really know a lot about this area. The borough of West Reading, their focus is on the trash control. So I think if we keep our focus on that, that's a little bit more controllable. I won't say, you know, in an absolute sense, but you can get your arms around that a little bit more than the human issues, which are, of course, even more complicated.
Gene, is the land that the structures are located on, is it in Cumru Township or West Reading?
We're talking about the triangle at the top of the map there in fact, that yellow triangle. That is Cumru Township.
Right over where Barnesville used to be and all those, the manufacturing along the riverfront there, where
Yeah.
we're gonna be reconstructing the bypass, all
Yeah.
that. Well, that'll get them, when that
That'll
happens.
take several, it'll.
Yeah, when
you
that
to
happens,
get to
right.
that, but yes, but that triangle is part of Cumru Township. And it is adjacent to West Reading and a little piece of the city Reading. The Toon Trail comes over from the Rack Bridge, the railroad bridge, and then continues south. There's an industrial building there, which is inhabited by Service Capital Corporation, that's an active building. And the mouth of the Wyoming Creek comes out there as well. So there's a handicap fishing dock, there's what is First Street in West Reading that is no longer a street in Cumru Township. There is West Reading's Public Works area. There is a lot of stuff going on in that area. Some people may recall that a number of years ago, there was a big shooting in that area, which was in Cumru Township. So there's a lot going on, and I think there's no way to appreciate the complexity of the situation that by actually going there and seeing.
Is it adjoining to just West Reading, right?
Yeah, and the river,
And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, but in terms of municipal boundaries,
Yeah.
it's just West Reading.
yes.
So you want to do a power station. That's the. So I said, certainty, that's right, I remember that. Yeah, the power station. Backwards.
So, thank you for that, PSA, please, contact us, any of us will be happy, we don't have to make it one big party out there, we can take individual trips out there, but, thank you very much. And
And I would have recommendations on the time of day. So,
I'm guessing that wouldn't include night.
that's correct.
Once we clean this area up, trash, how do we keep it up?
well, that is the issue, what do we do on an ongoing basis? Not necessarily, no one has, it's like South 9th Street, that's the other part of Cumru Township that is, you can't get to there from here. Like South 9th Street, there's no way to do an absolute 100, it's not going to look like an old Pine Sol commercial. There's no, there's no way to clean it up. It's more a matter of reducing what's happening there and keeping it in a less unclean state. But that's exactly it. How do we do this on a more regular basis without breaking everyone's back? Right now, West Reading is hauling material out of there by the truckload, and they're paying for everything. So it's costing them.
And just to further comment, these aren't like just general consumer containers on stuff then, what are we talking about? Furniture?
Hypodermic needles and like all kinds of nasty stuff that's built up over years, I'm guessing.
Stuff, the pallets, the cardboard,
Okay, gotcha.
anything you can imagine in there or something. That's why we recommend you put your eyes on this. We can describe it all day to you, but you gotta really write it down.
Fortunately, this location, traditional kind of resolutions are not something that'll work. You know, one of the things you could do, same thing with South 9th Street, is to put dumpsters out there. But the individuals that are leaving this rubbish behind are not taking the time to put that in the dumpsters. We discussed, this is an ongoing thing for years and years, even when I was in Reading, this was the topic of conversation. About putting, how do you make that location more visible, putting lights up. Well, PennDOT owns the roads, and they won't allow any kind of lights to be illuminated underneath that bypass. I don't even think there's power down there, but there is. When he talks about cleaning up that landing, correct me if I'm wrong, Gene, but that when, I believe the one meeting I was at, they were talking about having ADA accessible ramps for individuals that are down there. You really couldn't touch anything down there without making these improvements and doing these things. So it's a very complex situation. I mean, short of putting a township employee down there and saying, hey, stand here and you stay here. It's going to be very difficult to keep someone from coming back. And they're very territorial. And like Commissioner Dell said, their mental health goes hand in hand with this. And there's oftentimes when individuals are homeless.
Is there any way we could turn that area around and you know as well as I, presence and make it just more active, possibly recreational or something?
No. This is,
Those options are off the
I
table.
think a lot of people don't appreciate that when you're driving on that section of highway, that bridge is over 200 feet long.
Right.
But you're so busy on that curve, trying to stay in your lane and watching everybody else change around. You don't realize how big that bridge is, how long it is. These people are, some of them are living in cardboard boxes, but most of them are living up in the structure of the bridge, between the beams of the bridge, under the abutment of the bridge.
And Dave, to your point, there are recreational facilities there. The Toon Trail runs through that triangle, and there is a handicap fishing dock there.
As long as they don't want to hang around where they're, they go more or less like isolated area. That's isolated all right.
But then, you're also talking about the noise of the traffic. I think that bridge takes something like 50,000 cars a day. It's like an airport. So, yeah, again, it's something that has to be seen to appreciate.
Thank you for the discussion.
Thank you. I just want to circle back on one thing about this letter from the PA. Are residents aware of what the reevaluation of the Angelica Creek to upgrade it? Are they aware of the possible added restrictions on anybody who lives in the watershed or a tributary that would be on their property? Well, for instance, where I live, we have to have a minimum of 3.5 acres. And if the Angelica Creek is updated, I mean, it may or may not be a good thing for residents, but it could be rather strict on what you could do maybe as far as crossing your creek or what you could go on your property. Are these people being notified? Are the people who would be affected by this being notified?
Two answers. One, as far as public notification, that's exactly why it's on your agenda. it was on your last month's agenda as well. The DEP asked us to make sure to put this on public.
But as far as the mailing, like somebody who would,
The second answer to your question is no, the DEP does not do that, it does not require it. The Angelica Creek goes through the eastern half of Cumru Township. We could mail out 3,000 or 4,000 notices if the board wishes. It would be a very difficult mailing to determine who should get it and who should not. The DEP does not do such a mailing. In regard to your comment about acreage, it wouldn't be about the acreage, that's a zoning issue. The issue would be, let's say, somebody who lives down Church Road. I have an example. Down at the end of Church Road, near 625, there is a property that has a number of apartments on it, it's called the Old School Apartments. Okay. It has been, the owner of that property has submitted tentative plans, but never recorded a plan to develop further back on their property. They actually own like 20 acres or so. They would need, if this plan of the DEP's is adopted, they would need a higher level of permitting to build a structure on the remainder of their property, because it would be in that corridor. That's the kind of thing, it would be a higher level of permitting. It would make it more difficult to get permitting for those areas of improvement. And I can send you this so you can see the map. But, so those are my answers to your question. It's about the stream.
thank you. Just notice what the PSATC central meeting is August the 9th. The registration deadline is 8/1. I've just presented to us commissioners. And the next thing would be an executive session, to meet an executive session. Where we having the executive session.
Yeah, I'm out tomorrow morning if you want to do a field trip.